All right. Okay. Morning, everyone. I know I say this every week, but in particular, maybe this week, maybe a couple of postures where a block or something that resembles a block might be quite useful. So if you've got one hidden in the house somewhere, you can grab that, or if you can sort of in your eyesight, if you've got anything that vaguely resembles this, like I say, it might be quite useful, but you can certainly do without it reasonably well. Okay, so as usual, you start with a comfortable seat. You know, a few ways to get there, but whatever feels most comfortable to do. You sit, try to relax. Try to relax, particularly the legs. They get this weighted down feeling, hopefully. And the pelvis as well. We want the pelvis to be heavy. We want the tailbone, the back of the pelvis to be down. But down in such a way that it doesn't lead to the collapsing of the posture. So we want to be sort of grounded through there, but also able to lift through the chest. And so if that's a struggle, if that's tough, then you sit up on something. And then hopefully you can get that double action. Tailbone dropping down and the chest lifting up. And actually, as we go through the practice this morning, that's a couple of cues that we're going to revisit quite a few times. The actions, the dual actions of the back of the pelvis, the tailbone, so to speak, moving down, and at the same time through the front of the body, the chest lifting up. And if we can balance those two actions really nicely, then it's a really good thing for your practice. It's really helpful. It's really useful. And you can cultivate that right now. You can begin. So the seated posture, however we've ended up, the shoulders move back and relax. And already that's almost like a trigger for the chest to start to lift. So as you get that slight action of the chest lifting, you bring in the inhale breath. So the inhale needs to be fairly smooth and consistent. That's the aim. And then this word softness in the exhale. For the most part of the exhale, we want to sort of release a little bit. Let go. But then right at the end of the exhale, we want to get this feeling of pressing down. So this action of the tailbone down, pelvis weighted down. It's like the stability, it's the grounding before the next inhale, before the next lifting. Feel fairly comfortable in the posture, and then the inhale comes again. Heart lifts, chest expands. Don't overdo that. And then exhale again. Slow release of the exhale, and become very interested in the detail here. It's not just inhale, exhale. How the body moves with the breath, as you would imagine, is going to be important when you get into the postural practice. So the end of the exhale is the grounding. We're ready for the next inhale, the lifting. Exhale, releasing. When you're going through the inhale, try not to worry about going to sort of 100% capacity full. Tends to be that last little bit sort of brings on a little bit of tension around the collarbones and the shoulders. So you're filling up to about sort of 80% on the inhale, if that makes sense. If it starts to feel tense up in the shoulders, you've gone too far. So that's a little sort of something to play around with, to find your own way with. It's a full inhale in one sense, it's not literally as full as you can go. But the exhale needs to be long. And you settle into this pace, this nice quiet space, the rhythm of the breath, the breath and how it affects the movement of the body. Tailbone dropping down, heart, chest lifting up. It can be worth checking in with your face from time to time, making sure we don't carry tension in the shoulders potentially, but also up in the jaw, eyes, cheekbones, all of those areas. Is it possible to relax your face? So as we have started to drop into practice, honing the awareness on the breath, on the body, try to keep it there. It can be challenging when you're practicing in your own house, so many distractions. For example, for me, there is always some sort of toy underneath this sofa here to my right. I think they put it there on purpose. And when I practice with you on this Saturday mornings, it always just annoys me a bit that there's something underneath there. You'll have your own version of that in your own house, I'm sure. As best you can, awareness on practice. Hands touch at heart center. The idea of coming together or bringing energy together through the chant of Om doesn't quite fit in our current situation, but the intention can be there. So take a nice breath in. Okay. And then slowly opening your eyes. Okay, now while we're seated, we'll just take a couple of really simple stretches. Just a little side stretch and then also a twist. So you can stay as you are, you can sit, or you can stay as I am if you like. You can come up and sit onto your heels if your knees and your legs need a little bit of a change. Whatever's comfortable for you, stay with that. And if you're sitting on your block, you can stay sitting on your block or cushion, whatever it would be. Anyway, so we're here, we're seated fairly upright, and we're just going to lean a little bit on right fingertips. We'll take the left arm up. The left arm up, you see the palm is facing in. It reaches up. We can lengthen up by pressing the hips down. So keeping the pelvis grounded and inhaling and lengthening up, lifting the ribs. Get long in the waist and then just start to lean over towards this right side. And as you're reaching through your left fingertips, you want to avoid this left leg and left hip lifting up. We want to keep them grounded. So there's a pressing down and then there's a reaching. There's a good lengthening of the waist. Keep breathing. Last inhale, really stretch through the fingertips, lifting the heart. Okay, and then on an exhale, you can come back up. Nice and easy to switch sides. So place the hand, reach up, inhale, long through the right side of the body, and then maintain the effort to press down as you reach over. And then the other thing let's just avoid is this idea of slowly sort of crumbling and collapsing down. So it's a pure side stretch. So the hips and the shoulders stay in the same line. And you just lean. And you reach and you press down and breathe. Do with the head and neck whatever's comfortable. You can look up, you can look down, you can follow the fingertips if you wish. Nice big side stretch. And then up, inhale, exhale. Okay, really basic twist then. Left hand comes outside of the right leg, whatever that looks like, however you're sitting. Right hand, fingertips just behind you, just for a little bit of support. So we're here. Now, when you're doing this twist, even though we're going to start to look back, don't end up leaning back here. Okay? This is not doing anything for you. Maintain the idea of shoulders above the hips. You sit up tall on the inhale. Nice breath in. Exhale, you turn the shoulders. So these fingertips, they just give you a little bit of balance, so we don't lean weight onto them really. You could do this posture without them, but they just give you a bit of leverage and support to deepen the twist. And then you inhale and you come back through the front and just release. Okay, we do the other side then. So left, little bit fingertips, take the other arm across, sit up tall. Try to maintain the tall posture as you turn the shoulders, you turn the upper back. And of course, the pelvis isn't going to move much, and we don't want it to move much. We want to get into that area in the upper back, between the shoulder blades, around the shoulder blades, around the sides of the ribs, even the muscles in between the ribs, all of that. It's a nice big morning stretch. Okay, let me come back around. And then come up to stand. And so the last couple of weeks we've done the same sort of introduction to get some heat in the legs. And we're going to do exactly the same thing with, you know, I think it's typically mentioned, but more of an idea or more information about this tailbone dropping down and this chest lifting up. Okay, we want both of those. So take the first one nice and easy for the legs and work on these two actions. So we maybe don't sink as deep. Take the arms out to shoulder height. Start to bend the knees with the feet parallel. Come down a little bit. And then notice if you're sticking the bum out and dropping the chest, it might feel easier, but you're not really doing much. Okay? Tailbone down. But you're posteriorly tilting the pelvis technically. What you're trying to do is scoop it down, the tailbone down. And as you take that action, you should feel your abdomen, your tummy muscles slightly tone. And then once you've got that action, there's a lift in the chest. Weight in the heels. 3. Tailbone keeps dropping. Chest keeps lifting. 2. And then exhaling. Okay. Release that somewhat into a forward bend. Fingertips can be way out in front. Knees can be bent. We think about prioritizing the spine. Length of the spine, more important than stretching out the back of the legs. That will come. We'll get to both. But try not to sacrifice the shape of the spine. And you know what you're doing here. We're sort of playing around, feeling things out, seeing how things feel. Where's the resistance? Okay, maybe it's everywhere. So you don't overdo it, you know. You play around a little bit, find out what works, find out what doesn't work. And then we do a second round of this. So don't think too much about it. Strong feet. Drop the hips. Drop the tailbone or scoop the tailbone under. And then inhaling, lift the chest and reach the arms. Strong legs, very strong. Strong thighs. Full of effort in here. The face though, shoulders soft. Full breaths to go. Sit lower if you can. Last 3. Pull the lower belly in. Drop the tailbone down. 2. And 1. Bowing forward. Make progress. Make progress with your practice. Whatever that looks like. If it's taking the hands slightly in, maybe palms down. If it's being able to push more through the legs to take the hips a little higher.
to work the stretch in the back of the legs. We don't just we don't arrive at a point and then give up. We just see where we can get to. It's like an exploration, self-discovery, or self-awareness perhaps. You find your way. What works for you, or maybe what's a little bit too much for today, or even at this point in the practice. Anyway, third set, okay? Same actions. Bend the knees, strong feet, thighs toned, drop the tailbone down, lift the chest, arms up. If you want to challenge yourself today, let's go for it. Let's lift up the heels and come up onto the toes. Oh, I've got to concentrate now. 3, 2, and then diving into your forward bend again. Wow, wakes up the legs, that. Anyway, nice forward bending, bending the knees as you go, maybe taking them both a little bit straighter, pulling the lower belly in, lengthening the spine down, maybe releasing the head down just to finish off, and then hands to hips, bend the knees, and just sort of round the back, up to standing, and give the legs a little shake. And then the other thing we've always in these sessions started with is Trikonasana, the triangle pose. So then this brings in a few elements that we like. Turning the right toes out. So the right toes 90 degrees away from the left. Okay, firm legs. Bending in the front knee is okay. Inhaling. Lift the ribs. Accentuate that with the arms. Exhaling, tilt the pelvis. Now, when you tilt the pelvis, it's really tempting to arch your back. Okay? Now you want to try to do the opposite of that. You want to try to get that same tailbone down posterior tilt. Okay? So as you lean over and you take the leg or the foot, wherever you get to, see what's happened in this lower back region and see if you can just adjust it. Can you drop the tailbone down? You kind of move down towards your back heel. Tailbone drops down, and then every inhale you try to lift up the chest, then roll the shoulders and turn open. And then exaggerate that again with the top arm, and the idea of maybe looking up at your thumb. But whatever's going on here, and whatever's going on in the legs, think about these two actions, sort of opposing actions. Tailbone down, toned in here, chest lifting. Take the 2 more breaths, work both of those actions, and then come out. You can look down, bend the knee, nice and simple. Okay, and then switch. So by the end of this practice, you are going to be sick of tailbone down, lift chest. Okay, firm the legs, bend in the front knees. Okay, reach, lift, lean. Okay, now eventually this arm can give you a bit of stability. So it gives you something to sort of work with. Top hand, lower back, tailbone down. Try to get that action all the way through the back foot. And then rather than adding onto that by collapsing the chest, the inhale, lifting, naturally lifting. Lifting the heart. Grounded through the feet. Wherever we get to. Breathe for 3. Fight against the urge to arch your lower back. Fight against that. Fight against that by pushing the tailbone away from you. By scooping in here. 2. Okay. And then when you're ready, bend. Come up. Step the feet together. Okay, very good. So, as usual, to the top of the mat then with the feet together, or reasonably close to the top of the mat. Big toes are touching, heels slightly apart. Standing tall. So the chest lifting, the shoulders moving back. The shape of the pelvis, a slight tucking. The dropping of the tailbone, the slight tucking of the pubic bone or the pubic bone area lifting up. Okay,
And then we're free in the shoulders to reach the arms up and perhaps look up at the thumbs. Stretch up really long, stretch up through the fingertips, and then take all of this length into your forward bend. So we can bend the knees a bit, pull the lower belly and pull the hips back and bow forward. So we've been here a couple of times already. Hands, fingertips, head down, you find your way, lots of options, make it work for you. And then straight away on an inhale, press the thighs back, lift the chest forwards, draw the shoulders back. So try to get those three, thighs back, chest forwards, shoulders back. And then exhaling, okay, you step your right foot towards the back of the mat, you drop the back knee down, and we start to sort of move the hips. We start to try to get rid of all the rust in the hips, all the tightness, all the tension, whatever it looks like, whatever it feels like, find your way again. So you work a little bit to find this low lunge pose. You untuck the back toes, make sure the back knee is comfortable, and you try to carry quite a lot of weight in this front foot. So it's not just on the mat, it's actually pressing into the mat. The front foot's pressing into the mat, the fingertips can also be there, but for most of you, you're up. You're up. Again, shoulders are over the top of the hips, so we're not forwards, we're not back, we're very centered, and the weight of the upper body is dropping through the hips. And so in a sense, it's just gravity that's encouraging this stretch through the right hip, through the right thigh. But don't lose the effort in the front foot. Keep that grounding, keep that, and then the lift. Reach up. And just for a little variation, just for an extra, you bend the right elbow, and you either hold the elbow from above, so you can see for the arm, you're either here, or you take the left arm and grab your right fingertips from behind. So whichever one of those two actions you can get at. Keep the hips moving forwards and down. Keep the chest lifting. Nice stretch in the shoulders, in the upper arms. Okay, and then exhaling. We can release all of that. And then we lift up the back knee and turn the back heel down. So we've got a nice wide stance to work with for Warrior 2. So wide and much wider than we were for Trikonasana just a moment ago. But the same roughly alignment of the feet. You take the arms up to shoulder height and then bend, front knee. Now same thing again, are you arching in your lower back? Can you correct that? Can you make your own corrections? Can you figure this out? Can you drop the tailbone down and lift the chest? Tailbone down, lift the chest, and then as a third point here, your front knee. When you see it collapsing in towards the inner foot, can you just adjust it so it stays in line with your toes, ideally second toe, kneecap, roughly speaking. The arms reach, and you breathe. 3, 2, and then 1. Okay. Turn, place your hands next to your left foot, and then you can either step or slide. You want to try to shift your weight forward, so there's weight into the hands, and you press into the hands, and then there's room to release the left foot. Anyway, we end up in this plank pose, and then we're going to take a little bit of time here before we go on to the other side. So drop your knees down. And this is like the yoga push-up. Okay? Now, when you see people doing push-ups or press-ups, typically what happens in like a gym situation is the sort of technique is to let the elbows splay out to the sides, sort of in that action. Well, what we're trying to do is very different to that. We're trying to keep the elbows more inside, more in line with the waist. So you spin the arm bones facing, or rotate the arm bones out. So if you look at your elbow crease, it's almost pointing forwards. So that action happens. I hope you can see that from the video.
that action happens. So that when we start to lean forwards, the elbows move back. Okay? So we don't want them to move out. We want the elbows to move back. And so you do two things at once. You lean forwards and press the elbows back. Now, whilst you're doing that with the arms, tailbone down and lift the chest. Okay? Now, this is all easier said than done. This requires some strength. So just see how you go. So, tailbone down, inhale, lift the chest, check the elbows are set, and then exhaling. Elbows back, chest forward. Lower down to the mat. Okay? Come up and do it again. So we'll do 3 sets of this. It's a bit of a game, a bit of an exploration. See how you go. Elbows, elbow creases almost pointing forwards, not quite. Tailbone down, so you're toned in here. Keep that feeling. Inhale, slightly lift the chest. Exhale, move forwards, and then bend the elbows back. Have control as you lower down. Okay, one more to go. Exactly the same thing. Now, if this is easy, I'm going to suggest you're doing it wrong, okay? You might be really strong, but generally speaking, if you're learning this and it's easy, probably maybe you're collapsing your lower back and carrying your weight in your lower back rather than in the abdomen. Or there's something else going on up in the shoulders that might not be so healthy for you. So the muscular effort should be there. You should feel it, should feel strong. Last one, tailbone down, lift chest. The inhale is here. You lower on the exhale. The elbows start to move back as you move forward. Have control as you go. Keep resisting by pushing the hands into the mat. Okay, and then you land. Whoa. Ready for a little cobra pose. Release the back toes, press the hips, lift the chest. Shoulders roll back if we can get there. Inhale here, exhale into downward facing dog. Okay, now we've all been in downward facing dog before. We all know what we're doing. A little bit like the standing forward bend. See how you go with the legs, with the tightness in the back of the legs. Try to be really consistent with the arms. So the fingers spread wide, and the inner hand in particular presses down. But a little bit like I talked about just now with the elbows. Even though the inner hand is pressing down, can you slightly spin the arms out so that the elbow crease? Again, it's not quite pointing forward, but it's moving in that direction. Try to feel both of those. And then on your next exhale, this time we're just going to do the other side. So right foot steps between the hands. There's the right foot forwards now and the back knee down. Okay, so same actions. Even though it's been a while, we'll get the same work in the hips, this sort of forwards and backwards movement. Front foot is heavy. It presses down. It's very controlling. It controls the posture. It's like this leg's the stability, this back leg is the opening. So the front foot very heavy, very sort of in control. This back leg through the back hip, we're trying to release it. And then again, the arms perhaps reaching up. And this time it would be the left elbow that bends and the right arm that either catches the elbow or comes around to catch the fingertips. And you see which one works best for you. So I'll just go other way. I'm up here. A few deep breaths here. Nice stretch, front of the hip. Breathe into there. Okay, on an exhale breath then, you release all of that. Lift back knee, spin back heel down. Come up. Okay, so hopefully we can set the feet pretty well already. We know what we're doing there. This action, tailbone down, lifting the chest, and then mindful of what that does to the front knee. So it's very challenging to have the tailbone in the correct position whilst the front leg rotates out
and the knee tracks the foot. So those two actions together are tough. Do your best. Inhale, exhale. Okay, same thing. Exhaling. You turn the hands towards this front foot. Now, from here, it feels like there's no way I can move that front foot. It feels totally stuck. So what I'd be trying to do is shift my weight forward, press into my hands, and then we can let it go. Okay, so from plank pose, we'll just do one set. We'll just do 1 times around, dropping the knees down, spinning the arm bones out so the elbow creases are pointing slightly forwards, gripping with the hands nice and strong. Tailbone drops, lift chest, and then use the exhale breath. Lower down. Take your time, roll up for the back bend for cobra pose, and then push back into downward facing dog. Stretch long, press the top of the thighs back. Try to lift up through the front of the pelvis. Lift the front of the thighs up. Sorry, lift the front of the thighs back. Lift the front of the pelvis up. Stretch the spine long. And then when you're ready, we're just going to walk the feet up towards the hands. Feet together is good. Up on fingertips, thighs back, chest forward, shoulders back. Exhale, forward bend. And then come up to stand. So push through the feet. Again, you can get this nice rounding of the back on the way up. Through the inhale, the chest lifts, and then exhaling, release the arms down. Okay, we're going to throw a couple of balancing postures at you right now. So when you're practicing at home, of course, you can sneak a wall in or something like that. And my wish would be that you use props such as the wall sparingly, so it doesn't just become this. And try to use it just as a little bit of a reference point for the balance. Most of the balance, believe it or not, is possible within the tools of your body. All right, well, let's test that anyway. Okay, so first one. In fact, watch me first. I'll give you a couple of options, and then you choose the correct one for you. So, first off, we're going to all start by hugging the knee into the chest. And then from there, option 1, actually, you're going to stay here. And let's take this back a step even. Even if we're here, even if we can't bring the knee into the chest, let's not round here. So let's get the same actions. Tailbone down, chest lifting. So here, you can make progress with this. You can keep on working in. Inhale, stand up tall. Exhale, pull in. So make sure you honor that tailbone down, chest lifting. Now, you either stay here, or if you can, grab your big toe and exhale. Try to kick the leg half straight or fully straight. And again, And again, with this kind of thing, same thing, try not to collapse down. So the tailbone down, lift the chest. Stand up as tall as you can. It's weird watching yourself on the screen. Okay, and then release down and out. So that's right side. That was me demoing it. Now you're going to do it. So if you've done it once, no problem. You can do it twice. So option 1, everybody join in. You're here, or wherever you're up to, and you're trying to maintain this nice tall posture. If you need more, you try to grab your big toe with first 2 fingers and thumb. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, extend. 3, 2, and then release. Exhale. Good. Okay, onto the left leg, left side, up to you. You know the options, take your time. Hugging the knee in. Find the balance. Eyes still, tall posture. If that's not enough, if you need to work a little bit stronger, grab big toe, extend. Stay in control, keep the breath. So it's pretty common when you're in a pose that's challenging that we hold the breath, we get a bit tight. And try to keep that softness, inhale, exhale. Okay, and then you can release that left leg down. Now, second one, somewhat similar, but now we're going to also include a twist in this. So we're going to take it a step further, so to speak. Where should I start? If I'm back to doing my right side, this time we don't really want to get the feeling of hugging the knee in. We just want the thigh to be parallel to the ground. Okay? And then option one, your left hand holds the outer hip, the outer thigh. Tailbone down, lift the chest. And then what we can do is we can use the other hand just on the sacrum, on the lower back, to encourage tailbone down and lift chest. And then the exhale, we try to turn the chest. To take this one a step further then, instead of holding the outer thigh, you hold the outer foot. Inhale, stand up. Exhale, extend. And then reach back. Okay, so there's two options for you. You'll go. I'll do it again. I'll do the easy one. So find your balance. Left hand comes across the right leg. Right hand supports your lower back. Very useful for balance to have some presence there. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, turn the shoulders. Concentrate. Breathe. 2. And exhale. Front and release. Okay, last one then, second side. Same thing. Take the left leg up, either here or fully extending. Make sure we stand tall through the inhale. Turn on the exhale. Inhale, lift. Exhale, turn. Inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, turn. And then inhale, front. Exhale. You can release. Got a bit messy. Okay. Coming down to the mat then. We can take it nice and light. Dropping down, releasing the hips, stretching the legs out. Okay, a little bit of forward bending, or a little bit of seated postures, you might call it, a little bit of forward bending. A little bit of core work, back bends, and then we'll take it easy in the last few minutes. So for our forward bending then, you bring your right foot in for Janu Shirshasana. Okay, now we've done this one many times. We can take the block underneath the knee if the knee's uncomfortable at all. This thigh, this right thigh needs to roll out. So there's more space in this inner knee. This thigh needs to roll out. You can manually adjust that, up to you. This thigh needs to roll out. This right hip needs to stay back. And then you turn towards the left leg. The left heel, the left thigh. This leg is heavy and presses down. The right hip stays back. And you turn the shoulders towards the front leg and stretch up. So the left leg presses down, it's firm. This thigh is rock solid. It presses down. You lift up, you lift the waist, you lift the chest. Keeping that leg very toned, we start to fold at the hips, coming forwards. Maybe you hold the foot, maybe the hands just stay by your sides. This can be enough. So don't overstretch the back of the leg. But even here, can you slightly get the feeling of scooping the tailbone under and lifting the chest? And you breathe here.
And you might find every exhale, there's just the opportunity to slightly come forwards. But forwards, not this action here. So keep the chest lifted. You might be used to going deeper into this forward bend, but let's keep it really simple and really correct. Press the thigh down, lift the chest up. Okay, and then you come out exactly the same way. So inhale, sit up really tall, and exhale, release. Okay, switch the legs around, same thing. So this left leg, this left thigh needs to roll out. Manually adjust that if you like, it needs to roll out. And we need to try to pin this this left hip back. We want that to stay rooted down. Turning towards this front leg, you know it needs to be strong. It weighs down. And you stretch up. Stretch up long, and then start to come forward. The minute you feel you're rounding the top of the back, rounding the rib cage, you come away from that, you place the fingertips down, drop the shoulders and lift the chest. Here, very good forward bend place to be. You keep pressing the thigh down, keep the energy in the leg. And like I say, sometimes on the exhale, you can come a little bit deeper into it. Sometimes you can't. Keep the legs firm. Don't lose that. And keep that feeling of lifting the chest. Okay. And then when you're ready for it, inhale. Exhale. Okay. And for a seated twist, you just take up your right leg and you try to bring your right foot pretty close towards your right outer hip. Now this can be a good posture to sit on a block if we're really tight in the hips, or sit on your cushion again. Really, the foot could be out here, but you'll get more for your posture by bringing it a bit closer in. Now I don't mind if the toes are slightly turned out, but ideally they point forward. Now this leg is going to be really easy to sort of forget about it and to let it go loose. But you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to keep pressing this thigh down with the same energy we just had. And even perhaps slightly rolling it in. See what happens with the foot, slightly rolling it in. Now, left arm comes across, holds the knee. So the knee goes into the elbow crease. A little bit like what we did right at the beginning. This other hand, the spare hand, the fingertips just provide some stability. Firm the front leg, front thigh down. Inhale, sit up. Lift the chest up. Exhale, turn the shoulders. Turn the belly away from the right thigh. The front leg, so to speak, the left leg, watch what happens to it. Keep it rolling in and pressing down. Keep sitting up and twisting. And then come back around to the front. It sometimes feels nice just to go the other way for a moment. It's kind of a releasing action. Okay, and then we do the same thing other side. So firm the straight leg, the right leg in this case, bend up the left one. Okay, as close in as we can go. Okay, thigh rolls in, it is firm. Knee into the elbow crease. Sit up. Tailbone down, hips heavy, lift your chest. Exhale, turn. Check the front leg. Keep it firm, keep it strong. And then use your arm for leverage. Hug the knee in and turn the chest away. Okay, and then inhale to the front. Maybe a little counter twist if you wish. Okay. Now then, a little bit of core work. We'll do a couple of different jobs. We'll do Navasana first because everybody loves it. Finding your balance. Tailbone scooping under to engage in here. And then trying to pop the chest up and the shoulders back.
and then legs. Okay, very much dependent on where you're at, but don't be lazy. Okay, don't just be in here. Feet up, squeeze the feet or the big toes together. Here's good. Make sure you're working hard. 5, lift the chest. All the work is in here. It's the thighs, it's the abdomen, it's the hip flexors. That's the strength. That connection between all of this is the key. Stay with it. 3, lift your chest. 2, very good. And then come out. Cross your ankles. Place your hands by your hips and see if you can push into your hands and lift the hips up. And if you can, you're going to hold there for 5, 4, keep pressing down. 3, tailbone under. 2, and then down. Okay, second set. We'll just do 2 rounds. So this is the last one. Again, be strong. You know what's annoying? A yoga teacher told me this a long, long time ago, and it's annoyed me ever since, because it's probably true, that your mind will always give up before your body does. All right? So when you think like you need to give up, your body doesn't really need to. It's just your brain thinking, I've had enough. It's an annoying thought, that, isn't it? I'm glad I passed that one on. It's like, okay, I can always do more. So, second round, second set. Lift chest, shoulders back. Hold. Breathe. And have that real laser-like focus. Like, okay, I've got this. 4. 3. Stay with it. 2. Very good. Release, cross. Now you keep the feet down, press into the hands, and just try to scoop the hips up. And you hold steady. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then down, exhale. Okay. You can have your hands behind you with the fingers pointing forwards. Just come into it's sort of a little bit like a lazy kind of posture. You can drop the legs, drop the knees a bit side to side. Just breathe very slowly. Take it a little bit easy, I guess, would be the best instruction, the best advice. Okay. And then in somewhat of a sort of counterpose to that, something that's called the tabletop pose, which you'll see exactly why in just a moment. So the hands are behind you. There's a bend in the elbows in the beginning. Okay, now scoop the tailbone under. So you slide the hips towards the heels, that action. Scoop the tailbone under and then push through the feet, through the hands, and lift up the chest. Now this is really strong, especially if you're weak in your glutes or your hamstrings or your shoulders or your arms. God, there's a lot going on here. You push into the hands, you push into the feet and lift the hips up. Keep the chin into the chest if you wish. You can lean the head back if the neck is comfortable. 3 breaths to go. Keep pushing. Keep lifting. 2. And then exhale, come down. You come out the same way you came in. So you're kind of rounding a little bit and drawing the hips back. Oh, and releasing the arms, give them a little shake. And if you've got any wrist issues, it can be nice just to sort of hold the thumbs in fists and then just rotate the wrists around. And come to think of it, there's a little bit of free working from home advice.
This is also good if you're spending a lot of time at a laptop, just to keep the wrists from getting too sort of tense, too stiff. Keep mobility in the wrist and the forearm. You go one direction, then you go the other. Quite a good exercise to bring in every, I don't know, hour, half an hour, just to keep the blood circulating, keep the joints moving, so you don't get stuck in that kind of, that one, the claw. Right then, let me see what we're doing time. Hiya, okay. We're going to be slightly over time with today's class. A little bit of back bending. We won't do much, we'll keep it nice and light. So, for shoulder bridge pose, or for some of you, even wheel pose. Now, if you don't know much about wheel pose, don't do that today. We'll just leave that for people who know it well, because there's a little bit of technique involved that is better face to face. So for everybody who's not doing that, okay, you place the feet a little bit like this twist, pretty close to your hips. They can be slightly away, but pretty close. Thighs stay in line, hands by your hips, head and shoulders down. And then you press through your feet again, try to scoop the tailbone down and lift the hips up. And then your hands can be for balance, or for some of you, walk the shoulder blades in and interlace the fingers. Press through the feet, especially the inner feet. Slightly squeeze the thighs in and lift up the hips. Breathe up into your chest. Make sure the neck is comfortable. Make sure the lower back is comfortable. 3, 2, and 1. Slowly then, releasing. Like you're curling your spine down so the tailbone hits last. Take a breath there, and then we'll do 2 more rounds. So exactly the same thing. Bridge pose, shoulder bridge pose. Same thing. So place the feet, place the hands by your sides. Obviously, if you're doing your wheel pose, go ahead in your own time. I won't talk you through that. I trust that you know what you do. Everybody else, hands by your hips, press down, scoop the tailbone, start to lift. Get to where you feel comfortable with it. Use your hands for support, or check in with this idea of interlacing the fingers under. So you slightly walk the shoulders underneath your chest. It's quite a nice feeling of lifting the heart. Stretching the front of the body long. Don't lose the awareness and the effort in the legs. Keep the feet pressing down. 2. And then exhale. And release again. Curling all the way down to the mat. And take a breath or 2. And then the third one, the final one, same thing again. Press down your hands, start to lift up the hips. Feet, legs, very key in any of these back bends. Really press the feet down. The inner feet strong, the inner thighs slightly hugged. Keep space in your lower back by lifting the chest. 3, 2. Okay, and then come down, same thing. With control, release the tailbone down last. And you're lying on your back, keeping the knees bent, a little bit like what we did after our core work. Just allow the knees to start to drop side to side. And hopefully that just helps to release the 2 sides of your lower back. And if you feel like the breaths become sort of short and a bit disturbed, you just try to get back to that nice, steady flow. Inhale, exhale. Okay. And then slowly and very lightly, you take both knees in and start to hug them into the chest. And then you can start to sort of roll around a little bit, the lower back. You make circles with the knees. You go clockwise a few rounds, and then you go the other direction a few rounds. And then keeping the knees reasonably together. They're going to slide somewhat, but keeping the knees reasonably together. Drop the legs over to the right. Not too much in the lower back, so you'll feel it, a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a twist in your lumbar, maybe up into the mid-back, around the sides of the rib cage. Hopefully it's not too much. You can still breathe quite freely. Even in this pose, funnily enough, just to continue or to round off the theme of the class, even in this pose, you can still get the idea of tailbone down, chest lifted. Even though perhaps the body's not going to move in those directions, I mean energetically, like muscularly, you can drop the tailbone down. You can feel the abdomen slightly toned. And you can feel the freedom in the lift in the chest. Okay, have control, use your hands for balance. Take the legs back up and then drop the knees over to the left side and do exactly the same thing. So like I say, the knees will slide a bit, but keep them reasonably together. Set your arms somewhere comfortable where you're balanced. And then just a few steady breaths. Start to slow down. Coming back through center. Release your leg. Let them go straight. Let the feet turn open, turn out. Or let the legs externally rotate. Same thing with the arms. So just like we were doing earlier, let the arms spin out. So the elbow crease is pointing up. So the palms and the hands are facing up. And so that you get the feeling of the shoulders dropping down towards the mat. Shoulders releasing down. Make sure the head and the chin is in a sort of neutral position. It tends to be for me that I need to slightly tuck the chin into the chest, just like half an inch, maybe even less. But it just feels like it's just a little bit longer in the back of the neck. Feels nice. Anyway, you get to figure out these adjustments as you practice. Arms heavy, shoulders heavy, hips heavy, eyes closed. Take a rest.
Now, very slowly start to come back with your fingers, with your toes. Wake up the body, move the arms, the legs, to the stretch if you wish. So stretch and reach the arms over your head and squeeze everything. Squeeze every muscle. And then on a big exhale breath, you release everything. So exhale. Let go of all muscle. Okay, and then you bend your knees, roll over to the side, use your arms to bring you back up to sit. And as usual, we'll just sit for a minute or so. After practice, really still a very important part of the practice. Point here, just a short time, just to sort of observe and just watch what's going on. Or maybe we notice what's missing, what's not going on. Certainly one of the common pleasures out of the practice is coming to the end of it and this realization that the mind is just not as busy as it was, not as cluttered. It kind of feels like there's a space between your ears, where at times it can feel like it's total chaos in there. Feel the relaxing, the seated pause here just feels like it's full of space, quite calm. It's temporary. Once we start to interact again and life comes at us again, in some ways it all piles up again. But it's my experience that with a regular practice, and so much of the daily practice, or whatever you can manage, then that balance does start to shift between this sort of habitual feeling of being cluttered, a bit chaotic. You can sort of drop that down, or up, I suppose, which way you can drop it down so that you become a little bit less chaotic, a little bit more peaceful. Cultivate that, it takes time. But this feeling shouldn't go unnoticed, this after the practice feeling. This space. And touch, take a breath in if you wish. Namaste. Thanks everybody. Okay. As usual, thanks for joining, thanks for supporting. I'll just switch the audio back on.